I really see that next year is the year of hyper-personalization. So I see every client at some point soon getting their own commercial. So the way I look at companies is that they're like athletes in an Olympic Games. And if I gave one of the best runners a 5% advantage over everybody else, he would definitely win that race almost every time. So imagine giving an athlete, 20%, 40% improvement. You would just absolutely obliterate his competition.
Hello, you lovely lot, and welcome to another episode of Marketing in the Madness. Now, if you've not been here before, hi, my name's Katie Street, and whether you've been here before or not, a reminder that all of these podcasts are around the marketing innovations that can help you get further, faster in your marketing. And today is no exception. And in fact, I'm branding this episode up as AI for marketing pros. So forget the AI stuff you already know, because my guest today, the fantastic, I'm going to say your name wrong, Danilo?
No, perfect.
Got it right. Yeah. Danilo is one of the AI leaders, well, across all of AI, not specifically in marketing either. He's going to share a lot with us. Well, Danilo, introduce yourself first. Tell us who you are, where you come from. I always feel a bit like Cilla Black when I do this bit. Tell us more about Danilo and what you do.
So Danilo McGarry. Half Brazilian, half English. And I've been in the AI space pretty much my whole working life, so coming up to 20 years. I'm former head of AI for Citigroup globally and former head of AI for United Health Group. In the UK, we don't know them very well, but it's America's 5th largest company. And they have the 3rd largest AI program in the world. And I mean, I've always been in the AI space in a very practical I always take a very practical view on AI. So I always try to create products and services. And recently I just helped revamp a company from 900 million valuation to 4.9 billion, together with another private equity group. So I've been around the space. I've started programs, I've scaled them. I've done a lot of the M&A activities around AI as well. And I'm also part of a bunch of AI startups. And so I'm really infiltrated in the AI scene. Maybe interesting fact, I have the same speaking agent as Sam Altman and Mustafa Suleyman, head of AI for Microsoft. And there is a very small circle in AI of about 100, 150 people. And people come in and drop out of those, but I think I've been in that circle for about 10 years now. So I get to see things 6 to 12 months before it comes out into mass market. And I think that circle of 150 or so people, we do AI in a slightly different way. We think about infrastructure. We think about the investment side of things. We think about how to connect the dots between the multiple different tools available so that a company can look completely different in a couple of years' time. So we think about these types of things as transformation, not just using a tool to generate a video or using ChatGPT to create a text for a post. It's a lot bigger macro kind of view on AI.
So we're going to change how people think about AI today. I think that is the key. There's AI for dummies that we've all been using, like the basic AI. Yeah. But what you're here to share is the strategy you need to take if you want to get serious with AI.
Yeah, I mean, every episode you hear on AI is very similar. People talk about, Runway and HeyGen and Canva, and these are great tools. But for you to really make an impact in what you're doing every day, you have to consider everything you do as a upstream and downstream of processes, of tasks, right? Like a company essentially is a makeup of thousands of tasks that people do. Without those people, without those tasks, you don't have a company that delivers a product or a service. And I find it interesting how many company founders or owners, they don't think of it that way. They just think that a company does stuff and they kind of stop at that point, but they don't go down a level to think about how do different departments interact with each other. What are people actually doing every day? What apps are they using? And when you start getting to that point, that's when you start realizing really, okay, a company is just a bunch of tasks being done by people. And there is a relationship, there is a pattern. And when you start thinking that way, you can start thinking about something that's becoming quite famous now. It's called autonomous enterprise. So you can start thinking about how to make good chunks of a company completely autonomous. And we'll get into that a little bit more. But this thing about AI won't take your job, a person using AI will. It's when a person says that, it shows a little bit of, I think, lack of understanding of the technology. AI is definitely going to take most people's jobs. And I reckon in about 15 years' time, there'll be only about 100 jobs left. So we can get into that as well.
Dun, dun, dun.
By the way, I am an optimist in AI.
Yeah.
You know, I'm kind of scaring the shit out of people right now. But in the end, I think it's going to be the best thing that ever happened to humanity. But that adjustment period is going to be very tricky, especially as governments don't have a clue what they're doing as well. So yeah, I'll let you choose what path to take.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, so many paths to take. I think for me, I can see how even in my business, at the moment, we're already instructing AI a lot. So when we don't need to instruct AI so much, there will be less of a need for people. There are some things that need a person to, I guess, creative direction, or me looking at how everything works together strategically. How can we optimize things like that? But a lot of the day-to-day jobs, potentially are going to go. So tell me, we're talking about we were kind of off camera or off mic. We were talking about how lots of people think about AI as Canva, ChatGPT. I think you also mentioned this in your intro to yourself. And they need to get a bit smarter. How should they be thinking? How should they be thinking about AI when it comes to becoming a proper AI pro and getting further faster in terms of making those savings within your business and optimizing AI to really deliver for you?
So a lot of companies, they're complaining about Copilot not doing much. These tools that AI and automation teams introducing not doing much. And the reason is because they're using AI for a very specific thing, writing emails. Okay, you write hundreds of emails a week, that can save you some time. Using AI to generate a video in marketing, like the Volvo commercial, completely made with AI, McDonald's, etc. Great, that saves you a couple of $100,000. But when you look at the grand scheme of things, a company does millions of hours of work. So if you're saving 1,000 hours here, 2,000 hours there, it doesn't really make a dent. So there's a lot of companies which are complaining about AI not living up to the hype. But I think they're missing a massive point in this. It's because they're not doing it properly. If you go back to looking at a company as a set of processes and tasks which are stitched together, and you start thinking about digitizing those processes, so as much of it is done on a computer as possible, you're able to then start building like a workflow. So workflow engines are going to be very big next year. They already were quite big this year. But the direction a lot of companies will realize is, I've got to actually build a workflow of what happens. What do people do? What does the next person do after that? And then build this upstream, downstream view of what the business does. So let's say you build a workflow engine, you map out everything your company does. After a while, let's say you do payments, you chase for payments or whatever, around payments. Thousands of payments get done a month or a year, millions of payments for a bank. After a while, the workflow engine starts to see, okay, there's only 5 ways to chase for a payment. Either you call, or you send an email, send a bailiff, or whatever it is. And after enough iterations, you start seeing a pattern and probability curves start appearing. So probably you're going to want to chase this payment or make this payment in this way. And there's edge cases, etc. And if you're able to take those logs of what's happening on the workflow engines of what people are doing, you essentially have a training set that you can then feed to an algorithm. And then you can get to a point where, for the very normal vanilla cases, an AI could do most of the work because it's had thousands of examples and it's able to train itself on the data that you've had from audit logs. So let's say you end up doing that for a couple of months, then thousands of cases are being done by AI, tweaked by humans, this thing called human in the loop. Very quickly, you can start realizing how that then goes to edge cases. So for instance, let's take humanoids. Elon Musk says that by 2030, by the way, he's always wrong in his predictions. We laugh a lot about this usually in the inner circle. By 2030, anyway, that's his prediction. There will be 1 humanoid for every 3 humans on Earth. But when you start thinking about, let's say it gets to that point, if it's 2050 or whatever, these humanoids are connected to the cloud. They're doing things, humans are giving them inputs, they're sharing those inputs between themselves on the cloud to the millions and billions of humanoids that will exist one day. They're constantly updating and learning themselves. So same thing there, instead of being on a workflow engine, it's physically in the world, outside of just being on computers. So these machines can then start very quickly learning. And then before you know it, a company is going to start being able to look at a whole department and think, wow, this whole payments department that I have, they're not being used anymore. Only for edge cases, but those edge cases are going away as well. So when companies start realizing workflow engines are needed, that's when they can really start making a dent and slashing jobs. What I hope will happen is that government catches up because they are so behind. I had a minister, I won't mention from which country, but I had a minister pull me aside the other day and asked me literally to tell him which cloud is the cloud computing systems in. He literally thought there was a cloud computing system in the cloud. I was shocked. He's a minister of technology and innovation of a country. I won't mention which one. I've been to 20 odd countries this year, so it'd be hard to know which one it is as well. So government is super behind. But if governments, for instance, put in place a couple of things, which I think they should do, like a tax for AI. So like a pub has a license to be able to serve alcohol. I think companies should be paying an extra tax for being able to use AI because they'll gain a massive advantage for it, both from a profitability point of view and also just being able to compete in the market and create new products and services. Use that funding to then reskill people and put quotas on companies on how many people they can lay off because of AI. And then hopefully those two things coincide. We reskill people, new products, new companies get created, and people are able to keep their jobs. So that's the solution I've been pushing for many governments that I work with for the last 10 years. And it's hard to even explain that to them. They're not even realizing that's needed at the moment. But hopefully they come around to it soon. So,
what do you think about companies, therefore, and I guess it kind of ties into what you're just saying, having AI policies?
So policies are great. This is a semi mistake I see everybody making as well. They rush into having an AI committee, usually of people that have no clue what AI is, or they've never used or scaled AI before. They should be getting outside help. And then they come up with all these policies and rules. So imagine, let's say if I asked you to come up with the rules and regulations for the Ministry of Transport for a country. You can take a good guess, you're smart, of what should happen and what shouldn't happen, but you're probably going to be missing a bunch of things. So policies are great, AI ethics groups are great, but this stuff is happening at such a massive rate that, I predict, for instance, 50% of law firms will go out of business next 5 to 10 years because they have a certain arrogance around, I'm not going to use AI because I'm a master of language and I'm making discussion and arguments, and AI can never beat me. Some of them take that view, and because of that, they will go out of business. So it depends where you are on the spectrum. But writing policies is great, but this is the time for action. You need to go and get your hands dirty. You need to try things. You need to speak to people who know what they're talking about. And by the way, on that topic, I'm probably going to go off on a tangent, but I absolutely, and I'm going to swear here, fucking hate people that talk about AI who have never ran an AI program before. They watch a couple of videos, they start, maybe specializing in deep fakes because it's a cool topic, and they go out and do speeches on this, and it just drives me insane because when you start asking them questions about how it actually works, how should you avoid it, implement it, they start tripping up very quickly. So my advice to anybody listening, please do some background checks on who you're listening to on AI. Have they done this before? Because you don't want to be listening to somebody who's just following everybody else. Like some of the stuff I'm going to say today is controversial. I'm going to be contradicting a lot of previous episodes, and a lot of other people do podcasts and other podcasts, like hallucinations. We're talking about this off mic. Hallucinations is by design. It is not a flaw in AI. So let me try to explain it very quickly. You need to be able to hallucinate. So think about the word hallucination. It means coming up with ideas and concepts that maybe don't exist, that you're making them up, i.e. it's an imagination. You need a bit of an imagination to understand how to apply something as powerful as AI into problem solving or to solving all kinds of issues around the world and solving diseases and energy crises, etc. You can't do that unless you have an imagination. So when you combine a really powerful technology with imagination, you start coming up with things that don't exist. And that's what the true power of AI is. It's allowing us to go to places we've never been before. So hallucinations are by design. They've been allowed to be part of the AI LLM models because we want them to think differently to us. And also think about the training set, right? So AI has essentially learned off the things that we have published, right? Journals, books, whatever blogs are out there. And there's a bunch of good stuff. There's a bunch of nonsense as well. And you don't want, AI is not going to have a lot of value to us if it thinks like us. We need it to think differently. We need it to go in places we've never been before. So hallucinations is a key part of that design. And it's also scary because imagine something that's more intelligent than you thinking about things you've never thought of before. It starts going places. And once that goes far enough, you can start having issues where AI starts to create its own language that we can't understand. And maybe it will get so intelligent that, it will start talking about concepts that we cannot comprehend. So that's one of the issues with AI is once there's enough more computational power, a bit more time into it, and some of the stuff I've seen that hasn't been out yet, it's going to start coming to a point where it's just not going to be compatible with us anymore. So that's why there's a risk of one day it could take over, but that's not going to happen for at least another 10 to 15 years.
I mean, that's not that far away. Let's be honest. 10 to 15 years feels scary. I mean, have you read the book, talking about scary, have you read the book Scary Smart by Mo?
I have, yeah.
Thoughts on that?
So when Mo came out with his predictions and his warnings about AI, it was too early. And it kind of went with the hype that the media was coming out with, like AI is going to take over, singularity, Terminator, etc. But Mo, if you remember his background, he was in Google DeepMind. And Google DeepMind was thinking 20 years ahead. And I've been involved with a lot of these programs, and I see that as well. And my message, by the way, since I started going on podcasts and doing speeches, has always been that, look, just try AI. AI is friendly. A person using AI will take your job. But now that I've put enough of that messaging out and people have kind of fed off that a little bit, I'm going to the next level, which is, look, it's not AI, a person with AI that will take your job. It's AI itself, and here's why. And it's inevitable. There is literally hundreds of billions being spent on AI on a monthly basis now. We're talking trillions by the end of next year. And with the amount of money going into that, people want to see returns. And it's going to force companies to use AI as much as possible. A lot of the private equity groups involved in this are going to push it as much as possible, and they make the world go around. So it's inevitable that companies will figure out they need workflow engines. They need to use the training sets to train AI and then embed it front to back, not in little, edge cases here and there. So it's going to get scary. And I think Mo is correct. I just think his messaging came out too early. And he forgot that a lot of people don't even know what AI is in the first place. And it's quite interesting as well because he ends up talking about happiness quite a lot. He had a really traumatic experience with his son passing away, etc. And in the end, I understand why. It's because in the end, hopefully we will be happy as a civilization once AI really kicks in and it solves a lot of the problems that we have today. And to be honest, that's all that's going to be left, is us just to be happy and enjoy things and explore new planets and other things outside of Earth. So maybe that comes with bliss or despair. I don't know.
I mean, it is quite scary when you do think about where this could take us, and also what we're teaching AI, because it is learning from the collective of humanity.
Yep.
And, based on our behaviors and the things that we want, that we love, that we search for, that we engage with online and this was the kind of premise of the book that he wrote, Scary Smart, will teach it what to focus its attention on, basically.
I mean, even relationships now. I wrote a recent article for Wired magazine. I'm one of the tech columnists. And I explained how relationships are starting to be in trouble now because of AI as well. So there's a huge percentage, a huge number of people that have intimate conversations with their ChatGPT and Claude and every other LLM. And there's a lot of companies coming into the space using AI for relationships. So for instance, marketing, sales, these are very human-centric departments in companies or types of companies. It's about having a connection with somebody, getting them to buy into a story, to a vision of what you want to talk about in a product or a service. So there's a lot of emotion involved in these departments. But if you have an AI that understands you intimately, remembers everything that you've said to it in the last couple of years, it's like that famous prompt, tell me what I don't know about myself, that you can type into ChatGPT. It gives you a psychological profile of yourself. So, when you start knowing someone that intimately, even if you have a perfect, partner, husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, it will not remember everything you have said in the last couple of years. In fact, it might even, use it against you at some point as well. But if you have an AI system that remembers everything you've said, it ends up being the perfect, partner to talk about things, to kind of push you outside of your boundaries. And so a lot of people are having relationships with their AIs now, and even secretly as well.
I mean, it is. It's kind of tempting, to be honest, because no one is going to understand you as well as AI understands you at some stage. That's where we're going to get to. In my head, I was thinking, how good would it be to have like an AI listening, which we probably do have in Alexa or whatever we've got, whatever devices we've got in our house. I've got a Google, I've got an Alexa. They're all listening in probably all the time anyway, but that could then, you could ask it when you have an argument with your in real life partner. How many times we all had the argument where you said this, no, you said this, no, you said this. You can now, this is where, that's totally different to marketing, but also potentially helpful in some cases. But this is where we're getting to. There is AI, or whether you call it AI, whatever it is, technology is listening the whole time, and it will be there to give us the real answers.
Yeah, I agree. And by the way, talking about Alexa, I was looking for Alexa.
I know,
you pointed that way.
I know. Hi, Alexa. You're over here.
How annoying is Alexa right now? She doesn't know anything.
No.
She's like a 5-year-old at the moment.
What's happening to Alexa?
Sorry, I can't help you with that.
Yeah.
It's her usual answer.
Yeah.
I hope one day that Amazon kind of revamps Alexa.
Even today, Alexa showed me, right, this is example number 1 this morning. I wanted to buy something because it showed me something that I actually do want to buy. A Neom candle. I have, NEOM, little advertisement for Neom. Love their candles.
Yeah.
And it showed me a Neom candle and I was like, oh, cool. But I didn't want that one because it was like a small travel one. I wanted the big one. So I was like, can you show me some other neon candles? And then obviously it started showing me neon things. And I was like, no, neon, like the candle that you've just shown me, NEOM, which it should know because it was advertising it to me on the screen in my Echo, whatever it's called.
And that's, I brought it up because, a lot of people ask me, oh, well, AI has been around for 60 years. That gives you a perfect example of that people can relate to, of how inferior, all the AI systems are compared to the ones around today. So I kind of bring that topic up because it's a good example for people. Like they can relate to that. Many people have Alexas in their home, and many people are pulling their hairs out with Alexa at the moment because they realize how much worse it is compared to ChatGPT or Claude or something else.
Which is incredible because Amazon have done such fantastic things as retailers in terms of customer satisfaction. God, I can't talk today. Great being a podcast host. I can't talk. But they're doing great things when it comes to customer satisfaction. Can't say the word satisfaction. That word, satisfaction. There we go. If I sing it, it works.
Rolling Stones.
But they're doing great things in terms of speed of delivery, showing me the right products. But actually, they are messing things up a little bit now because our expectations, because the whole world has adopted AI in a very, very short period of time. My expectations are for me to, when it's advertising that to me, for me to go give me the. It's not caught up yet. Alexa isn't anywhere near as good or the integration that's happening with Amazon and surfacing the products to help me buy the things that I want to buy that it's trying to sell to me is not there yet. And it's got to improve and got to improve quickly.
And they're so successful. I mean, if they had a proper AI system that's up to date, it could help you purchase so much more things.
Yeah.
And they have all of your history, right? All your purchasing history. Alexa could be like way better. It's a separate team basically in Amazon. It's not integrated into the Amazon wider business, so I've been told.
Which goes to prove what you said earlier, right? It's about how you connect the departments, and that is the future, connectivity and designing that connectivity within your business so that departments, systems, etc., kind of talk to each other. I was going to talk to you a little bit about that because do you know much about composable headless architectures?
Yes.
Heard that phraseology. Because a lot of my clients are, it's super interesting actually. Everything you were saying earlier, I was thinking, so my clients, people like Contentful, Commerce Tools, Stripe, and they work together quite seamlessly. But now, the technologies, it's not even just about technologies working together within your own business. It's about the technologies that you design or that you use talking to each other. And, they're all part of something called the Mac Alliance, which then helps them build those relationships and understand the things that talk to. So that for me is the future. Like this is where
Yeah.
things start to get super interesting, because technologies will build relationships with other best in breed technologies to help them, whether it's AI or not AI, technology as a whole breed of things. And it's going to be amazing to see, what we can achieve. And, they will be designing better journeys than Amazon. So what comes next?
Yeah.
Who knows?
It goes back to that workflow concept I was telling you about. The whole idea of a workflow engine is that it's a common platform everybody can work on. So it's people, it's the technologies connecting to it, it's the audit logs that come out of it that trains the AI. So it's just about trying to create a place where everybody can work, so that you can have all the data in one place. In terms of behaviors, what do people click on, what do they do when this and that happens? Kind of building the decision tree out, but front to back for a business. And we actually fell into this almost by mistake, or just by chance. So I have a company called Active Automation, and we do digital transformation for companies. And we were building AI systems, automations for companies, and it was always going great and fine. But it never broke that glass ceiling for companies. They were always complaining that we wanted to have more and more performance, right? They wanted to see more profit out of these programs. And then we got into workflow engines, and we started seeing, okay, well, if people are working in one place, then we have all the data in one place, what people are doing. And then can we use those audit logs to train an AI model? And we fell onto it kind of by trial and error. And the companies that are using it today, I mean, they're seeing crazy numbers, like 20 to 60% improvement in each of their departments. So imagine like a company, like every company is competing with somebody, right? Mm-hmm. Like there isn't no company working in isolation. So the way I look at companies is that they're like athletes in an Olympic Games. And if I gave one of the best runners a 5% advantage over everybody else, he would definitely win that race almost every time. So imagine giving an athlete, 20%, 40% improvement. He would just absolutely obliterate his competition. So the clients that are using it with us today, I mean, they're flying. They're creating products and services now because they're not having to spend as much time on the day-to-day. And they're creating new revenue streams that they never thought they could before. And by the way, with AI, this is what's going to happen to every company who ends up using it. Every company will end up becoming a technology company. Even a digital marketing agency will become a tech company. If you listen to Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, he doesn't talk about JP Morgan as a bank. He says they're a technology company. Tesla is not a car company, it's a technology company. So every company is going to start becoming a tech company. And eventually an AI company, AI tech company. And what's going to happen with that is they're going to start competing in markets they've never competed in before. So it could be, for instance, in your marketing agency, you're helping clients when they build these workflow engines to help their marketing departments. But then you go, hang on, I've done this for a marketing department. Why can't I do it for a HR department? Why can't I do it for a finance department? The technology is the same. And then you're going to start expanding out into other markets you've never been in before.
I can already see that happening, by the way, within us, because we've picked what we now believe are the best in breed technologies, and most of them are AI-based tools that help us automate tasks, sometimes create content, but obviously we've taught it how to do that correctly, not all the, I'm so bored of seeing the same crap that is clearly written by ChatGPT.
Yeah.
I got ChatGPT this week to roast himself. No, was it this week? Last week? Maybe it was last week. I don't even know what day it is anymore. That's December
End of year, folks.
Yeah.
Burnout. Yeah.
December 2024 vibes. But it's super, it knows where its kind of, limitations are and the things that it's doing. And it can tell you about the things that it does that are not great. And I can, because I use ChatGPT and other, other LLM, this end of year done LLM models. It's not even the.
But think about this, right? People are so concerned about using ChatGPT or Claude Perplexity to write emails and to write blogs and to write posts. Like, man, if this thing can create an entire video, if this thing can completely understand you from a psychometric point of view, it can do way more than just write an email. This is what I get really frustrated about. It's just the lack of imagination people are having. This thing is as powerful as you from a thought, strategic, imaginary, and learning concept, right? So why not apply it to something else? It's a bit like taking a Ferrari and doing food shopping with it. A Ferrari is supposed to be in a racetrack. So it's the same thing with AI. Everyone needs to expand their imagination horizons a little bit more. And again, they don't do that because they don't look at what a company does end to end. They keep looking at one thing. Oh, I'm going to make a video. I'm going to make a blog. But how does that get done? How does the production get done from start to finish? How do you take that blog and optimize it for certain keywords to optimize your SEO rankings in the Google graph? How then do you use that for your Google Ads campaign so you can get more customers? Okay, now customers are coming. How do you reach out to them? Do you build AI chatbots? How do these chatbots interact with them to get to know them a little bit more so you can build cycle profiles of every client you have? So this will catch on, right? It's a bit like Mo coming too early with the horror story. I think companies will start realizing they can expand things a little bit more. And I really see that next year is the year of hyper-personalization. So I see every client at some point soon getting their own commercial. So I'm watching my Instagram. Instagram knows enough about me and the things that I like. And when I see a commercial for a bank, it's going to touch on certain aspects of fears, of traumas I've had in my life to create an emotional attachment so I can buy that product. It's getting cheaper and cheaper now to generate these videos and to generate these ads to the point where you can start personalizing it for each person. So I think the future of marketing is this, essentially. It's using AI tools, proliferate them in other directions and just writing blogs and emails, get to know your clients better, and then start using these tools to generate hyper-personalized content for them, and then doing campaigns for those types of clients, etc. You're still going to cluster them up a little bit, but you're going to end up having, for a campaign for a launch of a product, you would end up having maybe thousands of campaigns for that one product, for all the different types of clients that would like to see that product.
Yeah.
And it's going to get cheaper and faster to do that because, you can just generate the stuff with AI better. Whereas today, to ask a creative team to come up with 100 different commercials is just like they think you're crazy. But you can do that with AI now.
Well, and also you can test and learn, right? Pretty damn quickly. Like you can push something out, create something using AI, and then test it using AI. It will then learn, okay, well, this did better because we changed this little thing, or we changed. Yeah. So I know we can do that already, but do we really track it as well as we could? Probably not. And I think this is where, like you say, hyper-personalization is coming in, and also the ability to track our data in probably a more personalized way is what's really going to push and drive us forward, I think.
Like, to give you a simple example, maybe a lot of your clients will know is, email marketing. Everybody does it. The open rate's like 1%, 2%, 3%. Everyone's kind of going to WhatsApp communities now, and because the open rate's like 90%. But with my own email marketing for the things that I do, I also had open rates it was actually quite good, 5 to 7%. But we started reading into the data a bit more. So when somebody takes one of my emails, it's usually like a page or so long. There's a couple of images, text, etc. If the analytics tells you that the person looked at the email, they scroll down just to see how long the email is and said, oh shit, don't have time for this. I'm not going to read it. Next time I email that person, it's going to be a super short email.
Yeah.
Or next time I email that person, it's going to be a quick video because I know they don't like to read content. Some people hate reading things. Some people love it. So little things like that, we have the tools already for it. But again, it's just having the imagination of using this data to then personalize what you're doing for your clients. That will improve the open rate from 5 to 7% to 12, 15%. And I got way more deals out of it. So little things like that, you don't even need AI. It's a bit of common sense. And just building the right funnels, the right automations in place, depending on what the data is telling you. So there's a bunch of things people could do more, could do better with AI. And even without AI, just having more imagination is really important.
Now, I know this kind of goes against everything that we've spoken about today, but before I let you go...
That's about the trains again, are you?
Yeah. Can you tell me how to fix Southwest trains? Yeah, sorry, spoiler. Well, not spoiler, but basically this episode is much shorter than it shoulda, woulda, coulda been because I was very late today because my Southwest train decided to get me into Waterloo an hour later than I should have been. But anyway, c'est la vie. Me and Danilo are here. So when it comes to marketing tools that you do like, that you do, that can help analyze that data, that you would recommend for people to go and investigate, what is your favorite marketing tool right now?
So I'm going to go against the grain here, like completely different to saying Canva and Runway and HeyGen and all that kind of stuff. It goes back to, I keep banging my hand on my lap here, but it should be a table. People have to build a blueprint of what the hell they do. Because you start getting tools for things before you even know what people are doing. It's like going to buy a shoe for a sport, you don't even know what sport you're going to play. Like if we know we're going to go play football, we're going to take a football shoe. If we know we're going to go ice skating, we're going to take ice skating. Like there's no point taking a football shoe to an ice skating ring. So when people start talking about tools, it really blows my mind, because what is it you're trying to solve first? And don't only think about one thing, think about the whole thing. Like how does it all connect together? And the funny thing is that there's two things here. Some companies, they don't do it because it's a lot of work. Like imagine asking everybody who has a day job to kind of map out what they do on a day-to-day basis. And a lot of people, they don't have the skill to do that because, every day is different, right? Humans are not the same every day. One day we might go for lunch a little longer. One day you might have a problem with your stomach, go to the toilet more. But end of the day, with something as powerful as AI, you have to look at your business again from scratch. So again, I would go to blueprinting, which is what I call blueprinting. Look at what everybody's doing, and then stop for a second. The first thing you should be asking before you have any tools is this actually the right way to work? Because otherwise you're applying a tool or an automation to a badly designed process already. So you're just automating shit, really. There's no point. So actually just look at your company like an architect would. If you're building a house, is this the best optimal way to use a space or to do this task? Once you've kind of figured that out and you know how you should be working, because usually the way you are working and the way you should be working are different things, then you look at tools to solve pain points. People want to get tools because they want to be cool. And oh my God, this guy's using Pika to create a cake version of himself. I mean, why is that interesting? Why do people get so fascinated about using a tool that squashes them? And it's like, okay, it's cool for 5 seconds, but how is that changing your business? So I'm in the transformation space, right? So I'm always thinking about how to transform a company. So you've got to look at a tool as a means to an end. Like I'm using this tool to make that blueprint better. There are bits of that blueprint that a person shouldn't be doing. What tool can solve that? So I wouldn't even answer the question of what tools, because every company is different. And usually people go for the tools everybody else is using. But not everybody has the same problem. And think about it as well from a competitor advantage, right? Let's say you go through the blueprinting, you do the hard yards, you understand what's going on, you redesign how your company should be working, you pick all the tools everybody else is picking. What's going to happen? You're going to be the same like everybody else. So you've got to really, really think outside the box. You've got to look at the tools as a means to an end for your specific pain point. And that's what I've been helping companies do, is just think in that way. And that's why in the end, like massive transformations happen, because we just look at the problem in a completely different way.
I love that. I mean, that is the future. It's redesigning your business for the new world. And I think the businesses that do that early, and hopefully I feel like I've got some things right here, because we're actually using the underdog, less known technologies.
Cool.
By accident, not by design, but I am going to get more, I am going to get a lot more interested in looking at this. That's in my plans for Q1 2025. Yeah. Danilo, thank you so much for joining. Guys, if you enjoyed today, of course, please subscribe to the podcast, but also I will pop some links in so that you can go and follow Danilo on LinkedIn. Anywhere else that they should go and check you out?
Instagram and YouTube as well, please.
Yeah, perfect. All the links will be in the show notes. And we hope to very much see you back here soon.